All right, as we start our show today, Bitcoin is at the top of the channel and it's actually breaking through 78,492. Today we're going to talk about why Bitcoin is breaking out and whether this reason for the breakout is sustainable. Also, I think we need to talk about life after 78,000 because everyone's been talking about 78,000 because that's the top of the channel. But hold on, we may break the channel. I'm going to show you why we may break the channel. And then what happens after? Like what happens after 78,000? Because we all been talking about 78,000 as if the world ends when 78,000 happens. Then I also want to talk about Kevin Warsh. If you don't know who Kevin Warsh is the new Fed chair. He replaces Jerome Powell. I want to play you the beginning just so you get a tone for what his testimony was like yesterday.
He has said, and I quote, "Anybody that disagrees with me will never be Fed chairman." And he's made clear that you are his sock puppets, saying last week that interest rates will drop, quote, "when Kevin gets in." Yeah, I think they do. Not when economic conditions change, we'll get lower rates. Not when the economy needs it. Nope. He said, when my guy, Kevin Warsh, is in there, we'll get the interest rates that Donald Trump, wants. So independence takes courage. Let's check out your independence and your courage. We'll start easy. Mr. Warsh, did Donald Trump lose the 2020 election?
We try to keep politics, if I'm confirmed, out of the federal.
I'm just asking a factual question. I need to know, I need to measure your independence and your courage.
Senator, I believe that this body certified that election many years ago.
That's not the question I'm asking. I'm asking, did Donald Trump lose in 2020?
And I'm suggesting you in 2020 the Fed made a huge inflation problem.
Okay, so we're going to go through his whole testimony, but that was just to give you a little bit of a taste of what it was like. And I promise you we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of this whole thing. If the researchers actually put up the tweet. Researchers, you heard what I just said. All right, chaps, let's get the show on the road. We've got a big show today. We have green bubbles. Let's we can just look at the green bubbles because, you know, bubbles they haven't been green for so long that sometimes what we need to do is just look at the green bubbles. So let's just spend like 30 seconds just looking at, that's the top 100 bubbles. I'm just glad that rave is not one of those big bubbles again and that all the manipulation has basically stopped there. All right, chaps, it's time to get the show on the road. All right, what's life going to be like after 78,000 if we break the top of the thing? Why did we get to 78,000? We took that position yesterday. We are up quite a bit on that position. So there we go. We actually took that position live. Remember, I took that Bitcoin long live on air using the news terminal. I told you that you should probably do the same. That position is up. We're going to take a whole lot of other positions here today. Chaps, thank you for being here. Hardest, thank you for being here. Researchers, thanks for watching. I know you said the clipping is going to take 5 to 10 minutes. You've got 5 to 10 minutes. That's pretty much as long as you got. To you guys who are watching, thanks for being here. I do have a favor to ask you. Please, could you smash the like button? Because it really helps me get distribution. And I've been here for the last 2 hours putting together an amazing show for you guys on an amazing green day because we are now at 78,400. We need to break out of this channel here. And it seems like we could break out of this channel here. You know why we could break out of the channel? Because look at the funding rates. And as this tweet says, it says, you can show these to your pals claiming that this is just another bear flag, but the funding rates are negative. And you know what happens when the funding rates are negative? And when you break a key level. That's what I'm going to show you later. And let me tell you, it's quite explosive. It's really explosive, right? In fact, I'm not going to make you wait, because if I make you wait, it's like I'm so excited to tell you what happens. And let me just tell you, right? So when we break the 78,000, if we break the 78,000, there are a lot of algorithms and bots and whatever else that are programmed to say, hey, this is a bear flag. Not only that, this is where the 21-week EMA is, the 21-week moving average, I think. Let's actually just see if we've got that over here. Yeah, this is the EMA 21. I don't know if, so on the weekly, let's have a look here. There we go. You see, that's the EMA 21 on the weekly. When that gets broken and the top of the bull flag gets broken, there will be a lot of algorithms. There will be a lot of automated trading bots that automatically trigger buy buttons. Now, when those automatic trading bots automatically trigger the buys and you have funding, which is negative, just look at the average funding rates across exchanges. Here it is over here. The average funding rate across exchanges is negative. That means that there are a lot of people who don't believe this pump, and those people are short. So you put a combination of the bots buying and the shorts getting melted away with the negative funding rates. What do you get? You could get a bit of a melt up. And we're going to talk about where that melt up may actually take you. Yeah, we're going to talk about where the melt-up may actually take you. Hold on, I've driven over my headphones here. And now I can't hear myself. Okay, now I can. Now I can. Okay, so life after 78,000. We're going to stop. We're also going to talk about where do we stop if that short squeeze actually happens, and I think that short squeeze will actually happen. But first of all, let's just look at how or why we actually got here. So why did we get here? It was the same reason why I took the long yesterday when the markets actually started to come down. I took that long at 75,765. I wanted to take 100 grand, and I went and took 10 grand like an idiot because I was confused between the margin. But anyway, we're still up. We can't complain. Profit is profit. Why are we here? So remember that the ceasefire ended today, and that they were discussing whether or not Trump would extend the ceasefire. Well, what we got yesterday was we got a indefinite expansion of the ceasefire, right? Basically, what Trump came out and said, he said, based on the fact that the government of Iran is seriously fractured, not unexpectedly so, and upon the request of the Field Marshal 𝗙𝗔𝗓𝗪 Munir and the Prime Minister of Pakistan, we have been asked to hold our attack on the country of Iran until such time as their leaders and representatives can come up with a unified proposal. I have therefore directed our military to continue the blockade and in all other respects remain ready and able, and will therefore extend the ceasefire until such time as their proposal is submitted and discussions are concluded one way or the other. So effectively, now we have another ceasefire, and this time there's no date on the ceasefire, which is what you call an indefinite ceasefire, right? The Iranians don't trust the ceasefire. Obviously, they don't trust the ceasefire. And another group that doesn't trust the ceasefire is the oil price. If you look at the oil price is saying, look, the markets are saying we trust the ceasefire. S&P up again, also pushing up against the top of this channel over here. But the oil price is saying, I don't trust the ceasefire. So I don't know, choose your fighter. Do you trust the oil price or do you trust the markets? Hardest, why don't we do a poll where we say, do you trust the oil price or do you trust the stock markets when it comes to the ceasefire? Either you trust the oil price or you trust the markets.
Who do you trust, oil price or ceasefire?
Who do you trust when it comes to the ceasefire? The oil price or the stock markets? Yeah. So the Iranians don't trust the ceasefire. The ceasefire actually happened. It was quite weird how the ceasefire actually happened. So first you get JD Vance, Kushner, Hegseth were all supposed to go and negotiate in Pakistan. They never took off yesterday, and they went to Washington. Their plane turned around and actually went to Washington. And straight after they went to Washington, they went to Trump issued the thing. Hardest, can we move the tweet slightly to the right, because the end of the tweet's being cut off on the left, so maybe you can just move it slightly to the right. Okay, so that's what happened. That's what happened yesterday. So right now we've got an indefinite ceasefire. And we have Iranians not trusting the ceasefire. They saying that that Trump is orchestrating a surprise attack. Now let me tell you what I'm thinking when it comes to this. I'm not trusting the headlines. I don't care about the headlines. I'm looking at the fundamentals here. I'm looking down beyond the surface and beyond the headlines. And I'm looking to see, what do both sides want here? And when I look at what both sides want here, neither party has any incentive to keep this war running. Let's talk about what that actually means, because this is the premise as to why we should probably get a peace deal soon. For Trump, he needs the war to end. And the reason why he needs the war to end is Trump is going into midterm elections in November. So Trump wants this war to end. The reason why Trump wants the war to end is because he's got an inflation problem. And that's not the only problem that he has. The problem that he has is he has midterm elections in November. The problem is that data is always lagging. And data can lag for as much as 3 months. So Trump is working on a clock that is 3 months away. The midterms are in November. So, and today we're in, call it May. Next week we're in May. So he is in May, June, July already. He's got 3 more months to get inflation down. Now, the thing with the midterm elections is you don't want to walk into midterm elections with inflation only being down for 2 weeks. You want 3 months so people actually feel like there's less inflation. And so right now, Trump is on the clock. Because data takes so long to come out, because the effects of inflation are lagging, he needs this war to end, right? So that's Trump's big incentive to actually get this war to be done. And I mean, this tweet basically summarized it. Donald Trump wants to stay in power at all costs, and his biggest obstacle right now is the midterm elections, which in real speak is 3 months away, because remember, he is 3 months ahead of where we're at. So he needs the war to end, and he needs the war to end within the next 30 days. Republicans are also starting to worry ahead of the midterm elections. I read this article, and basically the gist of this article here is that it is that Republicans see rising costs hurting farmers, darkening the mood of the state's voters, and the Republicans are petrified that they're going to lose both the House and the Senate. Then you look at the Iranians. The Iranians also want the war to be finished. Or, more correctly, they want Trump to unblock his blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. The reason why they want that is because they're losing a lot of money. They're losing a lot of money in oil that they used to sell, or that they used to sell through the Strait. So remember, when they closed the Strait of Hormuz, they basically closed the Strait of Hormuz, but also they left it open for their friends and their friends' friends and China and everyone else. So now we look at this and we say, all right, Trump wants this because of the midterm elections and because of prices and because he just needs this war to be over. Iran need this war to be over because they're not selling oil anymore. Not only are they not selling oil anymore, the problem is that their fields, so read the street, it says Iran is running out of storage for oil. Once they stop pumping, it can damage the oil field's production capacity. You can't just flip the switch on and off on oil wells. If you stop, clogging happens. This can cause massive reduction in the amount of oil you get out of the oil well, requiring expensive and time-consuming. It's expensive and time-consuming to get it open again. So Iran need this war to be over, and you can see Scott Bessent basically said the same thing. He said the President of the United States has made clear that the United States Navy will continue the blockade of Iranian ports. In a matter of days, Kharj Island storage will be full, and fragile Iranian oil wells will be shut in. Constraining Iran's maritime trade directly targets the regime's primary revenue lifelines. Now, let's talk about how much revenue the Iranians are losing, right? So this is a chart of how much revenue they're losing. About $100 million a day, which means that in a month they're losing about $3 billion. And annualized, they're losing about $35 billion. So Iran need the Strait of Hormuz to be open, because if they don't open the Strait of Hormuz, immediately, if Trump doesn't lift his blockade, then they are running out of money. And we know that their financial situation before the war wasn't very good. Now, this article from Zero Hedge, I'm not going to bore you with the whole article, but he says they got 15 days until the oil industry begins to shut-ins. Shut-ins in oil are shut-ins in oil are very, very, very bad. It's not like you walk into a room, you switch the light on, you switch the light off. Here, you're starting equipment, you're breaking equipment, etc., etc., etc. You want to make sure that you don't get into a shut-in. So both sides have an incentive to make the war work. Both sides want to get a good deal. This is part of the negotiation, and that's why right now, with this indefinite ceasefire, Trump has basically shown that that the US has a serious incentive. Now, look here. Right now, as we speak, 78,670. We are breaking above this thing. I'm very excited about this, because if we do break above this channel, or this bear flag, then we kind of invalidate the next leg down and the 4-year cycle bear market thesis, etc., etc. Now, there are certain things that I want to show you which are bullish. I mean, we've spoken about the bear case. The bear case is the 4-year cycle and the bear market of the 4-year cycle, and the fact that this is a bear flag. Let's talk about the bull case, because more and more, as we are here and as we are live, it looks like the bull case may be playing out. Now, remember, it's not enough to just tap it. Hardest. It's not enough to just put the tip in. It's not just the tip. You need to actually go in. You see, like you can't. It's not just the tip here. This is what you're looking at here. Is just the tip. Okay, now that's not enough. It needs to actually go in and stay there. That's basically what it is, right? Well, I don't know if you don't need inches, but you just need to go in. Someone says audio back, last sound. Do I have sound? It's back already. Okay, so we are right now just the tip. You see people. Yes, guys, it's just the tip. Okay, we're just the tip when it comes to this thing, and we need to break through it, and we need to stay there for 1 or 2 days, and then we invalidate this downtrend, and we could be going into an uptrend. What's causing the uptrend right now? Well, I think that Saylor is a big part of what's breaking this bear market trend at the moment, right? So when you have one buyer, and it's an unnatural buyer in a market with low volumes, which is pretty much where we are, that one buyer can actually break the trend. And that's maybe what Saylor's doing. What are the clues here? Or what are bear catalyst thrown at BTC in the last 2 months has failed to reduce the price. We've had a war, we've had oil spiking, we've had stocks dumping, we've had quantum fears, we've had debt selling, and the price of Bitcoin just keeps going up, right? So you look at this and you say, okay, that means that we're going against like all the fundamentals. What could take us against all the fundamentals? Well, maybe it's Saylor, maybe it's not. Either way, we don't care. At the same time, we're getting this breakout when the fear and greed is just outside of extreme fear. It's at 32. Extreme fear is, I think, up until 25. So we're just outside of extreme fear. And we've been in extreme fear for a long time. Now, you know, when we've been in extreme fear for a long time, you know what that means. It means that usually when we've been in extreme fear for a long time and we break out, then that could take us into new highs. Same time, as I mentioned, at the same time, as I mentioned to you, funding is negative. Funding is negative means that there's more shorts than longs. When we break a key level, the bots start buying, the algos start buying, the indicators start buying, Harder starts buying, Josh starts buying, everybody starts buying, and then we get a short squeeze. And then that takes the price even higher. If we get that short squeeze, where do we land up? Where do we basically go after that, right? By the way, on the downside, we are breaking through the bull market support band is at 78,400. So when we break above, if we can close above this bear flag, and we close where we're at now, we've closed above the bull market support band, which is very, 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 very good. Also, we've closed above the EMA 21. I think I showed that to you, yeah, but for those of you who missed it, let us just go into here on the weekly EMA 21. If we close above here on the weekly, then we've closed above the EMA 21, which is, these are all very, very, very good levels to be closing above. Where do we go from there? So at face value, if we break that level at face value, I mean, we go back to these levels over here. So these are the levels over here. The first spot is around 84,000. That would be the first resistance point over here, which is the beginning or the mid level here of this level over here. And then the next level is in the 90s, right? So let's just look at some key levels. The first thing is the Bitcoin 200-day simple moving average. That's at $86,000. The next level is the resistance point for the Bitcoin head and shoulders. So let's assume that this was a head and shoulders. And I mean, there have been many discussions in many forums as to whether or not this was indeed a head and shoulders. If you are one of those people that uses head and shoulders shampoo, then you would say that this is the resistance line. The resistance line is at 80 or 81,000. The Bitcoin parallel channel is at 83,000. And I think that these are the fibs. The fibs are at 84,000. So next levels, 83 to 85. And then if we break 83 to 85, then the next level is the bus all the way to Valhalla. It's an electric bus. It goes all the way from here to Valhalla. All right, let's move on to the next story of the day. By the way, if you are trading, someone says we are so back. Bro, calm down. Calm down. We're not back yet. We need to close there for a couple of things. If you are trading, remember we took our trade yesterday here. We're up $380, which is a stupid trade. It was supposed to be a $100,000 position. I was using the news terminal to trade. Why am I using the news terminal to trade? The news terminal is a set of AI agents that have basically scoured every single news source account that there is. And what they do is they go and fetch news stories when they break. And they allow you to trade directly from the terminal in milliseconds. So you can see every story is served to you in milliseconds. So, for example, this story came out. If I thought it was worth buying, I click here. Bang, I'm long Solana. And if I want to close that trade, I close that trade. Bang, I'm short. What happened to my volume here, man? Maybe I unplugged it. Okay. I did. Okay. So are you sure that I've got video? Let's see. Are the videos working? All right. Let's go. Okay. So the reason why we trade from the news terminal is because it serves us only the best news, and it does this in milliseconds. Now, in this market is very much a headline-driven market. Yesterday, if you were trading the headlines, you would have got the ceasefire trade, and you would have gone long, and you would have made a lot of money. I was asleep, but maybe in the US, you guys would have done it. All you do is you connect your exchange to the news terminal, and you can trade directly from the news terminal. It's the most profitable way to trade in this market. And now, the news terminal for you guys is free. Literally, you can try it for free for a month. What you do is you go to trade in this. There is a link here, and you sign up, and you literally get it for free for a month. That's what you do, where you sign up. If you're part of front runners, which I think you all should be, then not only do you get all the alpha, but you also get the news terminal forever. Okay, cool. So that is the story. That is the story of that is the first story around the war and how we got here. The second story is around what happens after 78,000. And the third story, which is the grand finale for today's show, Hopefully it's up on Twitter, because researchers, is the story up on Twitter? Researchers, come in, over. Let's phone them. We'll phone them and see if they put it up on Twitter. If not, we'll kick their asses and we'll do it without Twitter. What's your bet? Is your bet that the researchers actually put it up on Twitter?
I'm rooting for the researchers.
You're rooting for the researchers? He says, no, still clipping. Okay, well then we won't do it from Twitter then. So, yesterday we had Kevin Warsh, and Kevin Warsh Kevin Warsh is Powell's replacement. Remember, we were expecting Trump to nominate a Trump lapdog to replace Powell. Anyway, yesterday, Kevin Warsh went in front of the Senate Banking Committee to have his testimony. You do testimony before you actually get voted in or accepted or sworn in. And to be honest, he was a lot more hawkish than I initially anticipated. I mean, I know that his history was hawkish, but what I didn't think is, or didn't understand, is really how hawkish he actually is. He had a lot of things that he spoke about. We'll quickly give you a summary of what it is. The first thing is he pledged independence, and he said, I'm not a Trump puppet dog. I'm not going to be a Trump puppet. On the balance sheet, now this is where it gets pretty interesting. He said he wanted to shrink the balance sheet. In other words, he said the Fed's holding too much assets, right? If the Fed sells the assets back into the market, that means that they sell assets back and they take money out of the market. Now, the Fed's balance sheet was increased during COVID to like $9 trillion, and now he wants to reduce the balance sheet. On inflation, he says tariffs aren't the cause. The current inflation data is imperfect. If inflation rises, he said, it'll be because the Fed caused inflation. So he's taking responsibility for inflation. So I want to play you some of the points. He also acknowledged crypto, right? He said crypto is now part of the U.S. financial system. And he said no CBDC. So let's look at some of the things that he had to endure. The first thing was Elizabeth Warren. I did play this for you in the beginning, but I'll play it for you guys again because I know that some of you just joined us.
2020.
And I'm suggesting you in 2020, the Fed made a huge inflation problem, and you certified the election.
So let me ask you another question.
Out of monetary policy.
In our meeting, you said you would be independent because you're, quote, a tough guy. Those were your words, tough guy. And you will be able to stand up to President Trump. So let's try it again. Name one aspect of President Trump's economic agenda with which you disagree.
Well, Senator, the Federal Reserve in recent years has wandered outside of its remit, wandered into other areas.
I'm asking for something
that's not something I'm prepared to do.
With Donald Trump on.
If I'm confirmed, the Federal Reserve should stay in its
lane. He was very much
one little place
around Fed independence. I want you guys to watch this because I think there's a lot of good tidbits in here.
Are you going to be the president's human sock puppet?
Senator, absolutely not.
Are you going to be anybody's human sock puppet?
No, I'm honored the president nominated me for the position, and I'll be an independent actor if confirmed as chairman of the Federal Reserve.
Did Donald Trump lose the 2020 election?
That's a bit of repetition.
We try to keep politics, if I'm confirmed, out of the Federal Reserve.
I'm just asking you a factual question. I need to know, I need to measure your independence and your courage.
Senator, I believe that this body certified that election many years ago.
That's not the question I'm asking. I'm asking, did Donald Trump lose in 2020?
And I'm suggesting you in 2020, the Fed the president never asked me to predetermine, commit, fix, decide on any interest rate decision in any of our...
Then he was also, I mean, watch this. This is around, he was being asked if he would cave into Trump's demands. And I think this is one of the highlights.
Separate President Trump's obsession with rate cuts, his attacks on the Federal Reserve, on Chairman Powell particularly, and your nomination.
Oh, it's on double speed.
So this independence thing seems to have evaporated quite quickly between President Trump's statements and your positions. Again,
Damn.
You maintain you'll be independent of President Trump?
Yes, Senator, I do.
Well, President Trump constantly maintains that nobody's independent of him, that it's his morality that guides the whole United States government, including the Federal Reserve, and that you will be someone who will carry out.
Okay, so listen, I can't hear this. So what we'll do is tomorrow I'll make a video on other channel, on Crypto Insider, and we'll actually go through who Kevin Warsh is, how he got here, what his beliefs are, what he said in the Senate Banking Committee. But let me tell you, they were a lot more hawkish than I initially expected, I must be honest. And I think that if people were expecting him to be a Trump puppet, I can certainly say that on the surface, he's not a Trump puppet. That I can say to you for sure. All right, before we go, just remember, if you want to get the news terminal for 5 more days, we're giving you guys the news terminal for free. there's a link over here. If you want to sign up to CoinW, which is a non-KYC exchange, you've got the super sign-up bonus. You can get the best sign-up deposit bonuses. And lastly, if you want to join our trading competition, there's still a couple of days left. Just click that link over there. It's on Blowfin. It's a non-KYC exchange. Anyone can participate. I will see you guys again tomorrow. Until then, trade well, my friends.